for our organic abstraction, we're going to go ahead and have to decide what colors we want to use. Now, when it comes to the colors, your colors don't have to be completely realistic. There's nothing wrong with being realistic. You could use the color that you see, but you can also use color to express mood and create meaning. So what is it, the message that you want to convey to the viewer? Does your object look fluid, right? What colors of things represent fluidity to you? Maybe you think about fluid water, something like that. So maybe instead of using the yellow of the orchid, maybe instead you're using blue. You can also try to use different colors to create harmony, which is a sense of belonging. You can use color to create visual depth or space. Maybe you want to have contrast between what's in the foreground and the background. Or maybe you just want contrast to show emphasis between things that are different. So we can do that through value, lightness and darkness, as well as contrast in colors, things like warm and cool. So your colors can be either really intense, like this example by Georgia O'Keeffe on the right, where those poppies are those deep, dark reds and oranges. Or you can make something softer, like her example on the right. Honestly, I don't care what colors you choose as long as they relate to one another and you decide how you're going to express value. So even on the soft one, there is a range of lightness and darkness. And so that's going to really help us in order to try to learn how to blend the oil paint. So when you're selecting colors, it's really important to think about how many colors are too many colors. Most artists limit their palettes, unless they're being completely realistic, to no more than 3 to 4, maybe 5 colors. So in this example by Georgia O'Keeffe, if I were her teacher, I might say, whoa, 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 maybe you're picking too many different colors. Would you really want to use that violet with that warm red? I might, really ask, is these the best colors that she could possibly use? So here's some different suggestions and ideas. Some of these might be familiar to you from taking drawing 1. And so when you look at a color scheme that is all one color, we call that monochromatic. It has a range of one color with tints and shades. So here in this example by Georgia O'Keeffe, you can see that she pretty much used blues. In this example by Georgia O'Keeffe, she used her cool colors. So she used her violets and her greens. And these cool colors are really good for backgrounds. They tend to recede back into space. So these colors are what we call analogous. These are colors that are right next to each other on the color wheel, and they share a common hue. So when you look at it, you can see that there is red violet, and there is violet, and all 3 of those colors have red in it. This is what I like to call close to analogous. This is basically skipping every other color on the color wheel. So here we have our yellow, green, and blue. Now this scheme, where we have our yellows, oranges, and reds, are what we call our warm colors. They tend to be associated with heat. They're really good for foregrounds or focal points. They tend to attract your eye. So here we have warm and cool together. You can see how that red is probably the color that you were gravitated to first. And then the cool color looks like it's in the background, or looks like it's behind, or maybe this is an opening in it. So what color scheme is this? This looks like it's mainly yellow, blue, and red. This is called your triadic color. These are 3 colors that are equally spaced to form an equilateral triangle. So your primaries, your secondaries, and then your 2 sets of tertiaries would be examples of these. Okay, what scheme is this? Now, depending on your monitor, this might look like this is neutral. Maybe it looks like it's gray, black, white, and cream. When I look at it carefully, I see violets and yellow. So I would also say that this is complementary colors, but your neutral colors are those colors that are not found on the color wheel. So here's the complementary. These are opposites on the color wheel. They create dramatic contrast. Notice in this example, she primarily uses violet and yellow. Now, split complementary is pretty close. It's also going to create contrast. And with this one, you're going to use a color and then the two colors opposite of it on the color wheel. And so instead of directly across, it's the color next to its opposite. So here, instead of having two colors like this, you get three colors to create contrast. And then the last one is tetratic. Tetratic are four colors that form a rectangle. You can have a series of combinations of this. It's basically two sets of complementary colors, so two sets of opposites together that you would use for your painting. And so you have a chance to really experiment using colored pencils or oil pastels in the colors that we have for oils to really play on your tracing paper and figure out what color schemes are going to work best for you. So you get to play around with the idea. These are different examples of Georgia O'Keeffe's paintings, but you can see similar color schemes and similar imagery. Really think about, what do you want? Do you want really strong color and contrast like this one on the right? Do you want something softer and more light in the middle? Or do you want a kind of a combination of the both where you have some warm and cool colors together? You want to make sure that you have a range of value. On the tracing paper, use the white of the tracing paper as your white, and then try to see how you can get a range from light to dark. And then the last thing you're going to have to think about is, what kind of background do you want to include? We don't really want to use flat color or the white of the canvas. So you could have your imagery fade into the background, like this example on the left. You could use a simple cast shadow, so that's the shadow underneath these leaves in the center, or we could have a gradation of color or value. So here you can see how it goes from light to dark, and it kind of matches the imagery color here as well. So please experiment with your color choices and look for assistance if you need any help.